Life-transforming movement education. The way you walk across your living room is the way you walk through your life. Our movement patterns reflect our personality and our unique way of being in the world. And it works both ways because our movement patterns can also be changed and improved to create an even better life. Hi, I'm Dan Bienenfeld, and I'm a senior Hellerwork Structural Integration practitioner and training director for Hellerwork International. So what is Hellerwork? Hellerwork is an educational process that aligns the body in the field of gravity. And it also teaches people how to be connected to their body so that the body is not only aligned, but it also reflects our expression, because this is the instrument in this lifetime that we express who we are with. And the way we move reflects what we're expressing. Hellerwork is made up of three main things. One is structural integration, which is based on Ida Rolf's theory of realigning the body in the field of gravity. So it's body work, where we're actually doing manual therapy to realign the body with our knuckles, our fingertips, and our elbows, and our minds and our hearts. It's also utilizing movement education, which is really the course of this day, which I'm going to share with you. And it's a way of realigning the body and getting the body patterns, which are established over our lifetime, to shift so that the body can be in great alignment and fluidity and highly conscious and resilient and fluid. And the third component of Hellerwork is work with the process of life. It sometimes is called dialogue or therapeutic dialogue, where we work with the clients on the material that comes up out of the body, which is often feelings, emotions, thought forms, beliefs, even getting the body to release some of the old traumas of the past so the body can become current. So these three elements, bodywork, movement, and dialogue, are really the way that we work with the person. It's a really holistic system. I'm very proud of it. The structural bodywork realigns the body as we clear the body of residues that gather within the tissues from old experiences that we have. These experiences plus our genetics shape our body. And we're going to get into more about this shortly. Life-transforming movement education. What's unique about it? We focus equally on the client's process as we do their body. Our process is a lifelong and ever-changing relationship that we have with ourselves in our evolving nature as souls, having and using a human experience to evolve and grow. Now, this implies that the soul evolves and the body is the material link to our soul's expression in the physical universe. Now, we can't go on in this conversation without our main actor in this play, which is fascia. Fascia is literally the material that holds the body together. I'm not going to go into a big lecture about it because people at the Fascia Symposium likely know a lot about it. So we can't proceed without introducing this. It's literally what holds the body together, and fascia is how it creates the shape. It's how the body creates its shape. The fascial net and its composition, plus its capability and capacity as a communication system, allows for all movements in the body to occur. Fascia is the matrix and the fabric which holds everything together, covers nearly every structure in the body, and is the major communication system of the body. Now, recent discoveries show that fascia contains trillions of microtubules which transmit material through the body, possibly faster than the speed of light. So as we make a movement, these tubules are rearranging to send the movement potential through the body as signals to both stimulate our awareness and also make movement possible. Now, Ida Rolf said, fascia is the connection between the psyche and the soma. Now, the model we use in structural integration is the plumb line. And the plumb line in Rolf's model has that the rib cage, the head sits on top of the shoulders sit on top of the rib cage sits over the pelvis over the knee, and the knees over the ankles. And Ida Rolf's concept was much more than this measurement of alignment. She spoke of the line. Now, the line is a central vertical axis that the body is organized around. It's internal, it's energetic, it's fascial, and it allows everything in the body to organize and relate to everything else. Of course, when we stand still, the line is easy because we're literally able to shape our body on this line. When we move, we want the line to come with us. Now let's just take a moment and have a little experience of Rolf's line. Okay, so I'd like you all to stand up. I know maybe you've been sitting for a while. This is a chance to stand up. And what I'd like you to do, is close your eyes. As you close your eyes, just feel your feet on the ground. Get a perspective of your body's alignment, how it's literally stacked up. And now just imagine a spot, a point in the center of the earth. And from that point, allow a ray of light, almost like a laser beam, to come up through the earth's crust, right between your ankle bones. Now bring your feet a little closer together so they're a few inches apart. We don't want them to be too wide for this. Imagine that line of awareness coming up between your ankle bones, all the way up through between the legs, up through the pelvic floor, and continuing up through the front of the spine, which is roughly halfway between the front and the back of the body. And that line continues up through the thorax, up through the shoulder girdle, right in front of the cervical vertebrae, and up through the cranium, and up and out through a point in the very top of the head we call the up point. And it continues all the way up into the heavens. And you can just attach it to a star, hang it from a star. So this line goes all the way from the center of the earth through the body, up through the heavens, and connecting your body becomes then the bridge between heaven and earth. And imagine that that line was a nourishing, energetic line that actually feeds you and also gives you a perspective in which to orient your body around. So really it's the center, it's a vertical center of the body that comes through the body. And you can open your eyes, have a seat if you'd like. Now, sometimes I call the movement work that we're exploring today body work in motion. It really is body work. We're not doing necessarily hands-on, although we can, but it's really awareness, and the awareness is the most important part. Now, this teaches clients how to move through their lives with the greatest of ease. Now, how does our sitting, standing, and walking patterns influence tension versus ease in the body and in our life? Well, the way we sit, stand, walk, lift, and reach, and all the functions of daily life are really the movements of life. It's the functionality of life. And the way we do it actually shapes our body. So if I'm sitting at my desk all day, slouching on my computer, the fascia orients itself so that the the body will actually be able to be still stuck in this position. It's accommodating the way we use it. So after a while of doing a certain repetitive type of movement, the body will make it easier for us to do that. It'll lay down tissue matrix and start to reshape the body in the form in which we use it. So all of you know that if you're sitting up, you're going to feel different than if you're slumping. Even as you're sitting in this chair, we're going to talk about sitting a little later in the session. But we also know that if you trained as a dancer, you would do certain movements that would be elongating the body and turning and rotating on axis, and the body will shape itself and become a dancer's body before too long. And the same thing happens if you're using your body in a compressive way. The body will end up being compressed. It forms according to how we use it. Now, how would you like to assess and educate your clients and their movement patterns and how they can create more ease as they move through their day? Well, we're going to get into that. We're going to get into ways to assess clients' movement patterns and even teach a movement education exercise coming soon. So, introduction to life transforming movement education and facilitation. So what is the goal of movement education? Well, it's to teach the body how to keep great alignment and fluidity. See, there's no point in being in a rigid, good posture. That really does nothing except create rigidity. What we want to do is create beautiful alignment with fluidity. That combination is very life enhancing. We also want to be able to recognize tension. So if you're in the middle of something and you scan your body, you want to be able to feel like, okay, right now I'm grouping my shoulders, and then you can let the shoulders go. Now, just take a moment and run your mind through your body and feel where you're gripping. Might be your stomach or your hips or your feet or legs. And go ahead and take a breath. And let that go. Take another breath. Breathing seems to allow ourselves to reset everything. So it's also to improve the body-mind relationship, to be able to recognize that there's holding in the body and to be able to release it. And also, it's a message. Holding is a message from the body, if we can learn to identify what the message is. Now, what if I told you that in this short session today, you're going to learn a whole new way to move and even to begin to teach others some of the elements of that? Would you be interested? Okay, well, let's get to it then. This is kind of a funny little slide about Peanuts. Peanuts is an old character in the United States. I don't know if they have that where you live, but Charlie Brown is the character with his head down, and he's saying to Lucy, "This is my depressed stance." Then he goes on to say, when you're depressed, it makes a lot of difference how you stand. The worst thing you can do is straighten up and hold your head high, because then you'll start to feel better. If you're going to get any joy out of being depressed, you've got to stand like this. Defining movement work and how it relates to body work. Movement is the context of Hellerwork Structural Integration. That's Joseph Heller, my teacher. Ida Rolf said there is a pattern that the body knows. When the body and the pattern are made to coincide, the body understands this. We have a unique movement pattern that is our distinct fingerprint that represents our physical existence. Now, embodiment is the goal and the task of our work, to be fully embodied in this lifetime, to be in our bodies, not just to carry our mind around with the body, but to actually be in the body, to be able to feel, to sense, to experience. This is what life is about. And our bodies create shape from the way they move, as I described earlier. How movement patterns are created. So fascia does hold the key. One of them is physical trauma. You know, when you broke your shoulder, the body held it tightly as it healed, and maybe years later you still have a shoulder that's higher and stiffer. Emotional trauma and conditioning. Maybe you had a deep loss when you were younger and something was shocking and perhaps you had sadness. Maybe it was one large event, or maybe it was a sad childhood. The body takes its shape and it holds that residue in the body. Repetitive movements or habits. You know, let's say that I'm a chef and I'm always working with my hands in front of me. Well, pretty soon the body's going to engineer itself for the hands to be out here just to make it easier for us. Repetitive movements are simple, like even if you cross your arms right now, go ahead and cross your arms and then cross them the other way. See, it probably feels a little awkward because we're used to certain angles. There's nothing anatomically different about the arms, but we have our wiring. Now, we also learn through imitation. Imitation, a young child can be walking in back of his father, and the father is walking like this, and the little boy is walking like this, trying to be like his dad. So we learn through imitation, sometimes through media, sometimes through print ads, and different models that we have of people that we want to emulate or think that that's the right way to do it, so we better do it that way. And of course, gravity is a huge influence because gravity is always passing through us. We actually are living in the field of gravity. And when we align with it, the body really functions way better. And that's part of the goal of structural integration and this movement education system that we're exploring today. Seeing movement patterns. So we use all of our senses to observe patterns. Sometimes people are very loud. You can hear their heels as they're walking. Goom, 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 goom. We use our ears. We use our eyes to see what part of their body is moving and what part is not moving. And we use our sixth sense, our intuition as well. Now, identifying our own movement patterns is very important because when we look at someone else, we can be jaded or influenced by our own structure. So if my body leans this way and I'm looking at you, trying to analyze you, this angle is going to affect what I see. So first we have to make our own movement patterns conscious and really work on our own realignment as we're learning how to identify patterns in others. So this goes into identifying the pattern with the client. So those of you that work with clients, you know, you watch them come in and you can observe, wow, they put a lot more weight in their left foot. Maybe they walk on the outside of their right foot. Maybe their left hip leads as they walk. Maybe their right shoulder comes forward. Maybe their head is in front. These are some of the characteristics of movement patterns, as are many elements. So when we look at someone, we want to look first with soft eyes. We want to take in the whole thing. It's not just we want to stare at their shoulder. We want to look at the whole body in the frame of where they're walking. And we want to see what's moving and what's not moving. Of course, what's not moving is going to become more significant because in the movement therapy, we're going to teach them how to get these parts to start moving. We want to also pay attention to tension levels and locations of holding, places in the body that are gripping. We want to see where their presence is. Like I might have a lot of presence in my face, but I might not have any in my chest. So we want to bring our awareness to the whole body so the whole body has presence. You'll see things about tempo, the way someone walks very, very quickly, and maybe some people that walk very slowly. And some people walk too slow for their frame. Some people walk too fast for their frame, and this creates tension. So finding the right speed for the right person. There's also an emotional impression when someone walks by. You can literally see and feel emotions coming through. And of course, when we're watching someone move, they might have performance anxiety. They may be embarrassed because they know that we're watching. And of course, there's many different styles of walking. Like in this character, in this gentleman walking, you can see that his left knee crosses over a little bit. That was a quick frame, but we will explore more another time. The point is that we all have a characteristic. We all have a pattern in which we move. And when you're watching people walk, everyone has a very, very distinct signature. Some people's heads are forward, some people's shoulders are forward, some people are leaning back, some people can barely hold their balance. And start to look at people as they're moving, and you'll see these patterns, and you'll see them in yourself as well. Now, what do we do with the things and the patterns that we find, these types of movements that we find in patterns? Well, we remediate. We first give someone an idea about their pattern. We call it pattern recognition. So I might not be aware that I hold my head forward. And if I were working with myself, I would first, okay, that's interesting. I'm observing my head is forward as I'm moving. And then I can start to develop a new way to shift. But without understanding the pattern, it's not going to happen. So movement re-education is about rewiring the dysfunctional patterns and putting in new patterns. Exploring the psycho-emotional part of the pattern can be also very valuable. So there are reasons sometimes why we tend to hold ourselves tight. Maybe we're protecting. So, you know, I can tell this person to, hey, widen here and hold your chest back, but inside there's a feeling there. And if we get in touch with the feeling, often we can just let go of the pattern. So it's very important to understand that emotions and mental thought forms and beliefs about a person can be part of the patterns that they create. And we can use body work to help create it and remediate it. And we can also use dialoguing with the client. Like, what are you experiencing here? Or what do you associate with having your shoulders be this way? We don't want to tell them what it is. We want to have them explore it. So movement facilitation 101. Let's use a very simple pattern here of sitting. Okay, so right now you're all sitting. Let's say you're sitting in your chair. Sit in the way that you normally do. Okay, maybe you sit like this against the back of the chair. Just notice a little bit how you're sitting, the positioning, and take a breath. We call this the breath test. Notice how easy it is to breathe. Okay, now, if I'm working with you as the client, I'm going to say, hey, your chest is a little dropped. Your head is a little bit forward. You're sitting in back of your sit bones. I'm going to basically call attention to the way it is. I'm going to also ask you what you experience. And now we want to actually make a shift to the pattern. So I'm going to give you a different way of orienting around sitting. And so that'll be establishing a pattern to shift the pattern, a plan to shift the pattern. So I'm going to ask you to come forward in your seat and sit right on top of your sit bones. And finding your sit bones, just put your hands underneath your sit bones, and you'll feel your sit bones under each hand. And the idea is that when we sit, it's good to have the sit bones going straight down. If we come forward like this, like as if the sit bones are the legs of a rocking chair, you can shift to the front of the legs of the rocking chair. You can shift to the back, which will bring you back into the slump, and just go back and forth from this as you see me doing. You'll see that my chest rises as I come forward, and my chest drops as I sit in back of the sit bones. Now, if you find yourself like this, instead of just holding your posture straight by tightening your back, what I'd like you to do is just rock forward so that your sit bones are coming straight down. That should require no effort. And then you'll find that you're upright without having to tighten the back. And that is a great way for you to proceed. So we're going to find verbiage, we're going to find ways of describing with our languaging so that the client can understand, because clients speak many different languages of movement, not just dialects and languages like foreign languages, but in their own way of perceiving their connection with the body. We have to find the right languaging. And then, so first I educated you about the pattern that you were in. And then I came up with a plan and we did a revision. And now I'm going to have you go back and forth with contrast. I'm going to have you go into this position that we just found and then go into the previous position. Go ahead. And just notice how you feel. Take a breath in this position, the old position. Carefully just shift your pelvis so your sit bones are down, going straight down, effortlessly, and take a breath in this position. Now notice how you feel to take that breath. Is the breath a little easier? So just to recap, you're my client. I'm going to say, okay, we started off with you sitting the way you normally did. And we made an exploration coming back and forth on either extreme. And then we found a place in the middle. And this is a place to practice sitting. So this is an example of a movement facilitation around sitting that you can use with your clients. Now, this is actually one of the movement lessons I want you to walk away with today. Now, movement facilitation within the Hellerwork Structural Integration model parallels Ida Rolf's 10 sessions of structural integration. And I'm going to give you a little example of that. This isn't going to be a huge example, but just a starter example of some of the many sessions of movement that you can do with your, with your clients, and you can actually start doing that now. So I'd like you all to stand up. Okay. Now the very first lesson is something we already did. We're going to find our line, and you're going to find a point in the center of the earth and a radiating line coming all the way up through the body and up and out through the top of the head. It's a living, breathing line of energy that focuses the alignment of the body, and it organizes the body around a central axis. So finding that is very helpful because you can find it when you're standing, as you are now, and you can take it for a walk. Just take that for a little walk around the room as you're listening to my voice. Just allowing yourself to perceive that line running all the way through your body, coming with you. Even as you bend forward, coming with you. Your line comes with you. Next, I'd like you to focus on the balance between your 2 feet. So notice if you're more on the one side or the other side, and come into the center. Good. With soft knees, so soften your knees. Good. And you can do a little rocking from left to right, and then settle into the middle. And then go ahead and do a little forward back movement so that your weight isn't too far back on your heels and it's not too far forward on your toes, but in the middle with soft knees. So those are your shock absorbers, your knees are. Now feel what happens as you're standing there. If you lock your knees back, you'll notice that the back tightens. And go ahead and relax the knees, and then the back will actually release a little bit. Okay, I'm moving back so you can see me a little better. Okay, so we did basically a side to side. We did a front to back. And we did a centralizing the balance so we're in the middle. Now, next let's focus on the shoulders. Now the shoulders, notice how you're holding them. If they're sitting forward or if you're holding them back, and just let them go. Actually shake them out a little bit. Yes, shake them out. So that you feel like they're just hanging, and take one of your arms like this and just let the feeling of weight drop into your hands. Good, until you feel a sense of weight. Good. Now, when you feel the weight feeling in your hand, it means that your shoulder's relaxed. Just to show you how that is, keep swinging your arm, but tighten the shoulder, and notice how the feeling of weight in the hand disappears. Okay, let it go, and give that to the other arm as well. Good. So now, as you're walking, it's good to feel the weight of the arms hanging. Most people, when they walk, they don't really let their arms move very much. So just go ahead and take a walk, letting the weight of the arms move, and let your shoulder blades move across your back. Go ahead and take a little walk. Really letting your arms go, letting your shoulders go. And next, let's focus on the floor of the pelvis, the base of the pelvis. Go ahead and tighten it a little bit and feel how it influences other areas to tighten. And that's a good exercise, but we don't want to walk around holding that area. So let it relax, let the pelvis relax. And go ahead and put your hands on your hips and just let your hips move as you're walking. Let them move a little more than you do normally. Okay. Now, see what happens if you tighten the pelvic floor as you're walking. Notice how the hips tighten. And the breathing kind of stops. Now go ahead and relax that, because we want to have the pelvis be happy. When the pelvis is moving, the back is much healthier. Okay, now let's combine a few things from before. As you're walking, what I'd like you to do is bring your weight through the middle of each foot. So it's not on the outside, not on the inside, but rolling right through the center of the foot. Go ahead and try that. So you're going from the back of the foot to the front. And allow the weight to come all the way through to the toes. The ball of the foot is the motor of the step. So as you're walking, let your weight roll all the way through, all the way through. It's almost like you're pushing off, but it's really just like rolling off. Most people don't go all the way through the foot. So you're rolling through the middle of the foot. Let your kneecaps be very soft and easy. You don't want to have straight legs walking. You want to have shock absorber knees and soft ankles. Good. So the feet are loose, the ankles are loose, the knees are loose, the hips are loose. And take a breath. As you breathe, by the way, just let your breath come into your sides, into your chest, into your abdomen, into your back. So the whole breathing cylinder is breathing all together. Good. Now, as you're walking, just imagine that your legs attach up higher and you're just letting your legs kind of dangle from your rib cage. Instead of moving your legs from here, you're going to let them dangle from up here. Now, when you do that, you're allowing your psoas to lengthen, and it's really a fantastic way to retrain and gain inner strength by training your psoas. Instead of driving your walk from your quads, you really let your walk start up here. Okay, now let's include the back. The whole spine, most people when they're walking, they keep the back very rigid. We want the back to actually move a little bit as we move. So let your back move a little more as you're moving. I know this might feel like a lot of movement. Letting the shoulders move, letting the pelvic floor relax, letting the knees soften as you land, rolling through the middle of the feet. And now let's add a final segment of letting your head float above, like a balloon, a helium-filled balloon. The head is lifting, it's lofty, it's relaxed, and it's moving as you move. Most people, when they walk, their heads are on like this. We want to actually have the head move a little bit. So try that. So now from head to toe, we've given the body permission to move. And that's really what the body does. It moves. So let's let all the parts move. Now, I took you through a very short, abbreviated movement experience so you could get an idea of the Hellerwork way, a structural integration that can parallel some of the sessions. Now let's come back to the sitting lesson that we did a few minutes ago. So as you're sitting, go ahead back to your chair. I'd like you just to find your seat, find your sitting on your sit bones, as we learned, so that you can breathe easily, so you're not tightening your back. You actually allow your body to move a little bit while you're sitting, so you're not frozen in your chair. And we already went through the movement lesson of sitting, but let's look at how to get up out of the chair. So right now, just go ahead and stand up the way you normally would. Just stand up and then sit back down and notice what tightens and how you do it, okay? Just notice how you're getting up. Most people, when they get up out of their chair, they kind of go like this. That's the normal way of getting up. I want to show you something a little different. So bring one of your feet back and one of your feet a little forward. And we're going to use momentum and gravity. Momentum means that you're going to let your body kind of fall forward over your feet. And gravity is that you're going to use the ground to press down to come up. Watch this. And sitting down would be the same thing in reverse. You're just going to bring your sit bones back. And see, I'm in control every step of the way. My legs are balanced in such a way. My legs are balanced in such a way that I can stop here, 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 I can stop here. So you're balanced the whole time. And what I'd like you to do is do it one more time. And this time, let your head shift, let your head fall forward first. So you're releasing the neck, getting the momentum, waiting till the weight's over the feet, and then pressing down to come up and letting your spine come up in sequence all the way up. And when you sit down, let the head drop first, letting your spine round with the sit bones coming back. So this is a new way of sitting. And I'd like you to go out and teach 5 people this week so you can take this tool with you from now on. So are you interested in more? Would you like to learn more about this system? I offer courses, and you can go to danbienenfeld.com to access my books and information on more training. Any questions? Hey, it's been a pleasure, and I look forward to meeting you in person. I hope you've enjoyed this little seminar. Thank you very much.